Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Reddit Recon, where we read Reddit posts so you don't have to. Today we're going to look at a few posts from Our Confession. The first one we're going to look at today is from Giraffe Tooth. I kicked a hitchhiker out of my car in the middle of the desert. About 8 months ago, I was driving alone on a trip to visit my parents. Most of the drive goes through a desolate desert with barely any vegetation. Approximately an hour into the drive, I saw a 20 to 30 year old with shorts, a t-shirt, backpack, and a water bottle giving me the thumbs up on the side of the road. Considering the road is less used nowadays, I decided to help him out because it didn't seem like he would see anyone else that day. At first he seemed quite normal, but after we introduced each other and had a couple conversations, he started to act strangely. He would occasionally flick his head twice and make a face, but would continue with conversations like nothing happened. About 30 minutes after driving him, he started talking politics and was very adamant on his way of viewing things being correct. I wasn't afraid of sharing my own thoughts and opinions, so I did as respectfully as I could. Without warning, he cut me off mid-sentence and screamed at the top of his lungs. I was shocked and really didn't know what to do. Looking back, he was obviously on drugs. He pushed me past the point of comfort in my own vehicle at that point, so I pulled over and ordered him out of my car. He took his stuff, and once outside I zoomed off, leaving him at least 30 kilometers away from the nearest town. Later, when I arrived at my parents' house, I looked over to the passenger side door and he left his water bottle. I assume he was fine, but who knows, maybe I killed some druggie because I didn't look to my right for a couple of hours. I've spent a lot of time in the desert myself, and I've seen hitchhikers, and I would definitely not pick anyone up. Let's look at this next one from Few Environment 8170. I worked for a restaurant and I would steal money from the register at the end of the night whenever it was over because I was lazy. This is a throwaway for reasons. I worked for an old-fashioned restaurant 5+ years ago for a few years in a position that I guess could be considered kind of unique by today's standards. I don't want to give too many key details for how everything was done for that reason. I'd record all the tables, check amounts, etc. throughout the day. It was all done by hand and very unnecessarily complicated because there was this cool technology available we didn't seem to have, called a computer. While still doing other normal restaurant duties, at the end of the night I had to balance all of the cash and paperwork for the restaurant and make sure everything matched everything, pay out everyone, etc. If there was an issue or if something didn't match, we were supposed to go through all of the paperwork, type thousands of different amounts into calculators, cross-check our information, find where the error occurred, and correct it. I was basically an underpaid everyone's bish restaurant accountant, but I actually truly did enjoy my job and my coworkers. Well, one night I was extremely exhausted and the cash balance in the register ended up being like $20 less than it should have been after paying out the bussers. I just wanted to effing go home, so I took $20 from my tips that night and put it in the register so everything matched. I don't know if I calculated their tips wrong or what. Well, after that night, since it saved me so much time, I just took from my tips and put my money in the register anytime it was under. Usually it was just a couple of dollars and seriously not worth it to me to spend 3 hours trying to fix at 12 a.m. However, one night, many weeks later, it ended up being over by like $40 and I pocketed it. In my head, I figured I had probably taken that much from my own tips to put into the register over the past however long it was. I felt so guilty, but I still did it anyway. I got to go home early. I was so exhausted at the end of the night, it felt worth it to me to do at the time. I did this for years. I slightly got kind of lazy towards the end because I knew this hack and this registered paperwork didn't need to be exactly 100% right. I could forge it a couple dollars here and there. No one would know at all. I don't know if I ended up giving more to the restaurant or taking more. I wouldn't even be able to guess how much on either side. I thought about my deed as little as possible. I never stole money to intentionally steal money, but I did, I guess, steal to pay myself back, whether or not I ended up earning money. I just put it in when I needed to and took it out when I needed to so it would match. I don't justify it and I feel like a criminal and wanted to confess. The way the paperwork was done, there's no way they could have found out. All the numbers went through me, and all trust was put in my hands, and they would never have expected me to do this ever. I told one of my coworkers this hack, who actually was a really good guy, with good intentions, who had the same position as me at some point. I casually forgot to mention I actually took the overbalance home with me, because even though I was paying back what I had put in, I was so ashamed to have stolen. It's truly not the kind of person I view myself to be. I only put money in. He thought my whole plan was absolutely brilliant, and because I wasn't taking money, it technically wasn't morally wrong. If anything, we gave him a few dollars. He took it upon himself when the register was over to hide the extra few dollars disguised as the tips of a busser with a fake name. Smart, I know. And if the drawer was ever under, he would take it from his go-home quick funds. He got caught. My supervisor found the fake busser's money. I was asked about this fake person, who possibly could have owed like $40 cash. I said I don't know. He confessed when he was questioned and was fired. He didn't say a word about me. I have told this to no one else at all until today. Well, that kind of sucks for the coworker that got caught. Got fired just because they wanted to be able to go home early by using that money. This next confession's from XX, just here for prawn XX. I used the gas card of an old job for 3 years to fuel up my car. Some years ago, I spent a year or so between jobs. One of these was installing/removing insulation from people's attics. It was a complete crap job, but my buddy got me in the door and it actually did pay well. I ended up being there maybe 2 months tops. We worked locations within 100 miles radius of the company's site, so one of our daily routines was to fuel the truck up on the way out of the shop at the trucker fuel stop around the corner. We worked in teams of either 2 or 3 on job sites, and all of the employees were given fuel cards, so there was never any excuse for why we would be in a situation where we couldn't get gas. A few weeks after quitting, I realized I had forgotten to give them the card back. Another few weeks after that, I was driving in the general location one weekend and just for shits and giggles went to the fuel stop to see if the card still worked. What do you know, it did. I then decided I was going to wait until the next time I needed gas, then go to that same fuel stop. I figured if I only used that location like all the other employees do, it wouldn't raise much suspicion when the bills came. This went on for about 3 years until one day the card stopped working. I confessed to my buddy shortly after what I had been doing. He told me that the fuel cards were basically just copies of the same card on one account, so they had no way of distinguishing any one specific usage. Also, the shop went out of business, so that's why the card stopped working. This is pretty funny that this guy was able to get free fuel for about 3 years without them ever finding out, but it's a good thing he didn't get caught because he would definitely be serving jail time. Alright, thanks for watching. That's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.